Hey guys, how's it going? Master Cow here, and today I'm going to be doing the 27th video for my 2021 NFL offseason preview series, the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens didn't have as impressive of a regular season as they did in 2019, between injuries and maybe in a bit of regression in certain areas. But the good news was that they were able to get into the playoffs. They won a playoff game. They knocked off the Titans in the divisional or in the wild card round, so getting kind of revenge for them getting eliminated by Tennessee in the divisional round in last year's playoffs. But they were just thoroughly outplayed by the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round. So we will see what the next step is for John Harbaugh and the Ravens. So their offensive starters by cap space, you have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, the MVP in 2019. His play dipped a little bit in 2020, but it wasn't anything alarming or bad. He was still pretty good, and the fact that he was able to lead the Ravens to a victory in the postseason answered one of the questions that I had about him entering the offseason. The two questions that offseason, the questions I had about him were, could he win a playoff game and could he beat Patrick Mahomes? Because he was 0-2 in both those categories. Well, he won a playoff game, but Mahomes and the Chiefs destroyed the Ravens in the regular season, and so he is currently 0-3 against Andy Reid and Mahomes. So Jackson's entering the final year of his rookie deal. He does have the fifth-year option that Baltimore will almost certainly exercise, and reports have indicated that they are working on an extension, but that they're kind of far apart at this time. We'll see how the new Dak Prescott contract impacts the Lamar Jackson contract talks. At the running back position is going to be Mark Ingram, former New Orleans Saint. He joined the Ravens as a free agent in 2019, and he rushed for 1,000 yards in that 2019 season, but he lost playing time this past year to younger options, and he was made actually a healthy scratch for the divisional round game against Buffalo, and the day after that game ended, Baltimore decided to release him for $5 million in cap savings. So J.K. Dobbins, second rounder in 2020 out of Ohio State, who had a pretty good rookie season, is now in line to be the starter. At left tackle is Ronnie Stanley, the 6th overall pick in 2016 by the Ravens out of Notre Dame, who has been outstanding the past couple of years. He signed an extension with the Ravens during the season, which avoided a franchise tag situation. And it was perfect timing in his case because he wound up suffering a pretty significant injury, like literally the game or two after he signed that new deal. So pretty fortunate timing for his part to get that long-term deal locked up, and the Ravens will be glad to have him healthy and back. At left guard is Bradley Bozeman, 6th rounder in 2018 out of Alabama, who has started every game for them at left guard the past couple of seasons. He has played some center when he was in college, and it's possible that the Ravens could end up moving him to center. We'll discuss that in a little bit later. Their current projected starting center would be Patrick Mahomes, undrafted, signed in 2019 out of Cal. He filled in for Matt Skura when Skura suffered that injury in 2019. Skura came back from injury, but unfortunately he struggled. He had some bad snaps, and he wasn't as good as he was in 2019. He'd probably been rushed back from injury, and Macari wound up replacing him and fared better down the stretch. So we'll see what the Ravens do there. Are they going to have Macari be their starting center? Are they going to move Bozeman? Are they going to draft somebody else or sign somebody else? At right guard, I have Ben Powers, 4th rounder in 2019 out of Oklahoma. Powers was mostly a healthy scratch as a rookie, and there was some talks that he might not even be a lock to make the team this past year, but he did, and he wound up taking over the starting job about halfway through the season over Tyre Phillips, who wound up suffering an injury, I think. So both those guys played about roughly half of snaps, and we'll see if they are going to compete for it or whatnot. And then right tackle is Orlando Brown Jr., 3rd rounder in 2018 from Oklahoma as well. And Brown filled in admirably at left tackle when Stanley went down with the injury, and obviously because of that, he has demanded a trade because he wants to go somewhere to play left tackle. So we will see if the Ravens acquiesce to his trade demands and if somebody's willing to give up what would likely be, I imagine, a first-round pick to acquire him. So for a team that misses out on signing Trent Williams in free agency, and they may want a more proven option as opposed to maybe drafting a rookie in the first round, Brown could be a solid option. Of course, since Brown's entering the final year of his rookie deal, a trade involving that would likely involve some kind of an extension. The Ravens don't want to lose Brown, but they may have no choice. Wide receiver is going to be Marquise Hollywood Brown, first rounder in 2019 from Oklahoma. Ravens have a lot of former Sooners on this roster. Brown was limited in his first season because of after effects from a Lisfranc injury, which can be kind of hard to shake for wide receivers. And he was pegged as like a guy who was going to have a breakout season in 2020, but ultimately that breakout season did not occur. He was still solid for the most part, but he didn't live up to the hype. The outside receivers, other one is Miles Boykin, third rounder in 2019 from Notre Dame. Boykin was very quiet as a rookie, but he did improve this past season. And the slot is going to be Devin Duvernay, fourth rounder in 2020 from Texas, who saw quite a bit of playing time as a rookie, about 35% behind Willie Snead. And we'll see if they give Duvernay a bigger role. And then tight end is Nick Boyle, who's been with the Ravens since 2015. He's more of their blocking tight end, which obviously in that run style offense that Greg Roman does run, that is a very important position to play and have. Boyle had a pretty good 2019 season, but he missed almost half the 2020 season because of injuries. Baltimore did sign him to a two-year extension about, I think, a month or so ago. The extension keeps him around for 2 more seasons, and it also reduced his cap hit by about $2 million as well. Mark Andrews is their primary pass catching tight end, and reports have indicated that the Ravens are also trying to get an extension worked out with him because he's also in a contract year. Their defensive starters by cap space, you have Calais Campbell at defensive end, former Arizona Cardinal, former Jacksonville Jaguar. Campbell was traded from the Jags to the Ravens this past offseason for a 5th-round pick, and the Ravens signed him to an extension. And he had a decent year for them, wasn't great, and his playing time was by far the lowest he had played, but it might have been some kind of load management, I guess. And then defensive tackle is Brandon Williams. He's been with the Ravens since 2013, I believe, and he's been pretty solid for them as a defensive tackle and a defensive end. Then you have Justin Madubuike, who was a 3rd-rounder in 2020 out of Texas A&M, who had a pretty decent rookie showing. Outside linebacker, they have just one edge rusher right now currently under contract, and that is Jalen Ferguson, a 3rd-rounder in 2019 from, I think it was Louisiana Tech. He led the FCS in sacks in the 2018 college season, which led to him being drafted in the 3rd round by the Ravens. His playing time, though, actually decreased from his rookie season to his sophomore season, likely and due to the fact that they had a deeper and healthier pass rush than they had in his rookie season. Middle linebacker, you have L.J. Fort, former Cleveland Brown, I think former Steeler as well. He's in the final year of his contract with the Ravens. He saw about maybe a third of defensive snaps this past year and a bunch of special teams work as well. And then you have Patrick Queen, who was the Ravens' 1st-rounder in 2020 from LSU, who had a pretty productive rookie season. In the secondary, you got Marcus Peters, former 1st-rounder of the Chiefs, who was traded from the Chiefs to the Rams. A year and a half later, he was traded from the Rams to the Ravens, and the Ravens signed him to an extension. And he has been and he has found his best success as a member of Baltimore. On the other outside is Marlon Humphrey, a 1st-rounder in 2017 from Alabama, who has been outstanding the past few seasons. He signed an extension during the season, like Ronnie Stanley. In the slot is Tavon Young, draft pick of the Ravens in 2016. Young is a pretty good player when he's healthy, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries. He missed all of the 2019 season, and he only played in 2 games last season. At safety is Chuck Clark, 6th-rounder in 2017 out of Virginia Tech, who took over the starting job in 2019 after the injury to Tony Jefferson, and he played pretty well, got himself an extension in the offseason, and he was pretty good as a starter this past year. And then you got Deshaun Elliott, 6th-rounder in 2018 from Texas, who was a starter last year. He filled in for Earl Thomas. Obviously, we know what happened with him. He getting released after getting in a fight with, I think it was the coaching staff. The Ravens don't have a long snapper under contract, or didn't at the end of the season. Their punter is Sam Cook, and their kicker is Justin Tucker, who is still one of the best in the business. Their free agents, you have edge rusher Matthew Judon, edge rusher Unique Ngakoue, who was acquired midseason in a trade with the Vikings, slot receiver Willie Snead, starting defensive lineman Derek Wolfe, center Matt Skura, who, as we mentioned before, lost the starting job midseason, safety Anthony Levine, wide receiver Chris Moore, edge rusher Tyus Bowser, edge rusher Pernell McPhee, long snapper Morgan Cox. The Ravens have said that they will not be bringing Cox back, and instead they have Nick Scott on a futures deal to be their next long snapper. I don't know if they're going to maybe add somebody else there, maybe use a late round draft pick or something, but yeah. DJ Fluker, who was in the rotation on the offensive line, and he became the regular right tackle after Orlando Brown moved over to the left side to replace Stanley. Dez Bryant, defensive lineman Jihad Ward, defensive lineman Justin Ellis, he has re-signed with the Ravens on a one-year deal. Tight end Eric Tomlinson, he's also re-signed. Safety special teamer Jordan Richards, he's re-signed on a one-year deal. Wide receiver DeAndrew White. Running back Gus Edwards is a restricted free agent. Baltimore tendered him at the second round level. Punter Johnny Townsend is an exclusive rights free agent. He filled in, I think, 1 or 2 games for Cook when Cook was on the COVID list. Center Tristan Colon Castillo is an exclusive rights free agent. The Ravens have re-signed him. Offensive lineman Christian Welch is an exclusive rights free agent. He's been tendered. Cornerback Khalil Dorsey is an exclusive rights free agent. He has also been tendered by the Ravens. Linebacker Chris Board is a restricted free agent. He's also been in the inside linebacker mix with LJ Fort and Malik Harrison. And wide receiver Antoine Wesley is an exclusive rights free agent. Baltimore has $16.94 million in cap space at the moment. So the needs for the Ravens, I'm going to say center and right tackle, especially given the Orlando Brown situation. There are a lot of centers available in free agency this offseason. You got Nick Martin, you got Austin Ryder, Austin Blythe, Corey Linsley, so there are a lot of options there. Again, the Ravens could move Bradley Bozeman from left guard to center if they so wanted to, and it will probably be whoever the best configuration of the offensive line they can get is, as it struggled a bit inconsistently last year, partially due to the injuries with Skura and Stanley, but also the retirement of Marshall Yanda really hurt more than it was thought at the moment. Probably getting another playmaking receiver for Lamar Jackson will be important. Definitely edge rusher. That's a huge need just because you got Judon, Ngakoue, Bowser, and McPhee are all free agents. And I could maybe see them adding another safety to push Elliott as well. So for who their cap casualties could be, well, they've already cut Ingram. They could cut Calais Campbell. I don't believe they will, though. Same goes for Brandon Williams. I don't believe they'll cut him. They could cut LJ Fort, but if they did, then they'd have to be confident with Malik Harrison being the everyday starting linebacker. I would say that they could cut Tavon Young, but his contract is not cuttable. And that's really about it. Yeah. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next offseason preview video.